The day 191, again the poet speaks and explains about four things. And if you observe carefully, all the four lines they start with mana, O dear mind, O benevolent mind. He says, or he cautions the mind. In sense, each one of us was supposed to caution our mind not to shelter on anger and start to blame A, B, C for anything, not to rest in, and he says only to rest in the company of the saints and to abandon the company of the wicked. This way, he says, we can unite ourselves with the Supreme and enter the kingdom of freedom. As long as we are engaged in this bodily affliction, we are entangled and we are caged, which we are supposed to understand. And only to kick off this is, we're not speaking about the clinical death, but the lingering of the body with the egocentricness of I and me to be dropped. The same thing he says, Mana kopa aropanate na savi, mana buddhi he sadhu sangi vasavi, mananasta chandalato sangatyagi, mana hoyi re moksha bhagi vibhagi. So here the poet he is saying, Mana hoire moksha bhagi vibhagi. He says, Mana, oh mind, oh dear mind, oh best friend of mine, hoi become what? Moksha bhagi. Bhagi in the sense, a partnership or coming in contact with bhagi. So, where do you want to get into a partnership is the question. Bhagi is moksha bhagi. Moksha means liberation. We all know liberation is not to be gained after death, but liberation needs to be attained here and now with the detachment of the body consciousness that we are entitled or we are entangled with, right from the first breath that we take in the morning to the last breath consciously we take, and beyond. Yes, he says vibhagi. So bhagi means take part. Here vibhagi, v is a prefix, it says separate. Separate from body and soul. That separation has to take place. You have to separate yourself from the body, that I am the body, and establish yourself that you are the consciousness or you are the indestructible soul. Mana kopa aropanate na savi. O mind, mana, kopa, anger, aropana. Aropana means blaming others, accusatory. That to be abandoned. It's only because of you this has happened. You. If something good happens, I. Reverse that, my dear friends. Reverse that. Nobody can harm you until unless you accept it. As singers, don't give the remote of your happiness into others' hand, as we say implicitly. You take the responsibility of that. And then he says, Mana buddhi he sadhu sangi vasavi. Mana, oh mind, buddhi, the intellect, this intellect, sadhu sangi. Sangi means sangaha, in the company of what? Sadhu. Sadhu means saintly people, noble people, virtuous people. Be in the company of them. Always stay. Wasabi. Wasabi means stay. Live alone, making a telephonic call or talking or making a video. He says, stay with them. Only then you understand. Of course, understanding sadhu is not that easy. I know people who stay for 10 years, but they don't understand even an iota. On the contrary, they blame sadhu. What have you understood? You have never understood me. They speak to the acharyas, they speak to sadhus, they speak to. Arre baapre. Look at that ignorance, look at that height of arrogance. Hmm? Just because they are so simple and humble, you rub your ego on them. Who is at loss? Who is at loss? He smiles. Okay, chalo. Think. And then he says, Mananasta Chandalato Sangatyagi. He says, oh mind, Nasta means stay away from destructive losses. Chandala, wicked people who have that strategies, schemings, gain philosophy always. I have to gain, I have to win, I have to be up. Other. Hmm. With that company, abandon, he says. Tyagi, give up. So the pointers are very clearly the poet says, give up the company of the bad and the wicked. Contra. Then after giving up this company, which company I should get into? Get into the company of the good and the noble and the saintly. Okay. After getting into the company of the saintly, don't blame A, B, C. You, you. Mhm. No other person can do anything until unless. And if you have these three, then he says, become a partner for liberation. Separate yourself from the body and unite yourself with the cosmic divine. So, my dear friends, the GPS actually, as you all know, as I have promised, I have to take this along. This was a long journey that till September 1st we had to have this, and we had to have the what you call final session of this on September 1st. But due to certain reasons, we are concluding this episode GPS series by July 4th, right? And then there'll be a 20-day gap. That in the sense we'll have three more sessions of this, and then there'll be 20-day gap. In between that, there'll be a small what do you call objective type with test, which will be sent with Google Forms or Google Sheets. And once you answer them, a certificate will be issued to you by TXC. Right? I wish you all the best, because this test is only for you to know where you stand, how much you have assimilated. If you want to go through the series right from the beginning, today is 191 series, so you have around 190 series back into 10, that is 1900 minutes of talks are there. A series that's loud thinking, which I am doing, reflecting, and which will help you also in reflecting and to know where you are, what qualities you have, what qualities you are supposed to abandon, what company you are supposed to get into, which company you are supposed to give up. Hmm? So there are many pointers, right? So this test, we'll see, there will be a test or there will be a participation certificate. In case, I'll speak to the organizers and then we'll decide. If the organizers says for everybody will give a participation certificate, and all of you are entitled for the participation certificate for having been with me in this journey of understanding the self and to get liberated, right? So saying so, we conclude this session here for today, and thanks for being with.